How's everyone doing? This is Dre of Recovery One Drones, and here we are for our last call for the month of June. This month has flown by pretty quickly. Uh, I took ill at the earlier part of the month, so I've been kind of down on the recovery trail myself. So this month has basically flew by for the most part. How's everyone in the chat? Gator Drone was first to be in here. We got Waypoint New England in the chat also. So we're going to just take our time here, get a few folks to come on inside, and then we'll get rolling as normal, going full speed ahead. But like I said, I hope everyone's having a good summer so far. Summer just officially started, I guess, on the 21st last week, earlier last week, coming out last weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And I hope everyone's been flying to the best of their ability. And hopefully everybody's been following the rules to speak of. Waypoint, it's just one of those things. I think it was my own fault. Uh, I am diabetic, and I think the passing of my mother got me off track quite a bit off my usual diet plan and everything else, and I was not paying attention to some of the signs that I normally would, and my sugar got real high, and I had to go in for a couple of days and so forth. So yeah, I'm back out. I was in the hospital for maybe about 2 days. I think it was only 2 days and stuff. So back on the mend and having that little bit of a health scare gave me not so much a wake up call, but I'm going ahead and in the process now of planning my retirement. Hopefully, pretty sure by the end of this year, December 30th is the target date I'm looking at right now, and you know, and I got a lot of vacation and sick time built up. So the plan now is how do you use up 720 plus hours of personal time, and there's only about I'd say roughly 700 hours of work time left in the year. You take away the holidays and the weekends, and that's about where I'm at. And there's really no way that my employer, which is the city I work for, is going to let me sit home for 6 months. So it is what it is. No problem at all. That's good. Good. Sometimes you just gotta just take the good with the bad. That's all. So, like I said, I got 410 on my computer. So we're going to go ahead and start rolling. Uh, as in a title, unless you've been under a rock somewhere, the World Cup has come to America. The American team is doing quite well. They only have one loss to speak of. And so they're doing quite well. I think they finished still top of their group heading on to the next stage. But the World Cup has brought, I would say, quite a bit of attention to the drone community. And I think it's been more of a wake up call for the drone community more than anything else. With all the different regulations and restrictions that have come about since the end of 2025, a lot of people have taken the attitude catch me if you can. And I believe this World Cup has basically been the FAFO side of that. As we look now, bring this up on the screen. Hope you guys can see that. Talks about drones flying near World Cup games, security response and penalties. federal authorities have been seizing hundreds of unauthorized drones. Now, that's the key word right there, is unauthorized. Uh, just because there is a TFR in place, flight restrictions in place, that is for all unauthorized drones. There still be drones that can fly in a TFR if granted approval through the proper authorities. And some people have even known who have gotten proper authorizations still have been contacted by local authorities just to find out who they are, make sure their paperwork or whatever the case may be is in order. So even though you may get approval, doesn't mean you may not get contacted. It just means that you're authorized to operate even within a TFR, other restricted type airspace activities. We'll go on here. Venues, okay, World Cup 2026 venues across the U.S., Canada, Mexico, with the FBI reporting over 400 drones seized nationwide so far. And it's probably higher than that. This article right here is probably about almost early in the month. And they already have, I'm pretty sure they're over 1,000, probably close to 2,000 drones now. And what gets me is, unless you, like I say, you've been living under a rock, there is really no excuse for this type of behavior. There is no longer the days of pleading ignorance of the drone rules and regulations, and so to speak of. I'm hoping there's very few, I'm hoping none actually, of these individuals who have their drones confiscated. Because when they talk about confiscated, 9 times out of 10, you're not getting your drone back. That's just the way it's going to be. 9 times out of 10, you're not getting your drone back. So with that in mind, that's your loss. And like I said, we're going to go back to that article and and look at some of the penalties, stages, and everything else. But my main thing here is I hope people understand, because this is just not camera drones that are being confiscated. There have been those with FPVs and things of that nature. So there's been a wide variety of drones that have been scooped up, that have been tracked by anti-drone technology, and so to speak of. So we're going to go back to the article real quick, read some more, and go from there. Okay, let me go ahead and slide it up a little bit. So why drones are banned? All World Cup stadiums, the major fan events are designated no drone zones under the FAA rules. Temporary flight restrictions that we talked about, prohibited drone flights within 3 nautical miles of stadiums and up to 3,000 feet above ground on match days, and 1 nautical mile and 1,000 feet at fan events. So that means if someone is hosting a watch party, or that's a fan event, some places are doing big watch parties and so to speak of, those are even getting TFRs also if they apply for it. Okay, so let's move on. Enforcement efforts. Multi-agency coordination, FBI, TSA, DHF, FAA, state and local law enforcement working together to detect and disable drones. Counter-drone technology agencies use detection systems, electronic interference, and in some cases, interception tools. Training. FBI and Homeland Security have provided counter-drone training to local police in all host cities. Grants, they spent up to $500 million in federal funding has been allocated to states and localities for anti-drone surveillance. Now, I'm going to stop right there for a quick minute and talk about that money. The government spent $500 million on this, okay, on this technology. So guess what? It's not like they're going to go to Best Buy and turn it back in for a refund when the World Cup ends. A lot of these places are going to be able to keep this technology, just like many other agencies get grants to local PDs to buy new toys, new units, new weapon systems, all this kind of stuff. A lot of cities, especially major cities that host a lot of large events, are going to be able to keep this technology for themselves and use it at their prerogative. So you're talking about, here in the West Coast, places like a San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, major cities of that nature on the West Coast and up and down the East Coast of Philadelphia, the Atlanta, New York City. They're all getting to keep this technology. They're keeping it. So what that means? That means that they're going to be using it full time. Every major event, NFL games, Major League Baseball, or football, as they call it across the pond, soccer here in America, anything that's a professional racing, whatever you want to call it, or any large concerts, stuff like that, they're going to be using this technology. Okay? It's as simple as that. And I hope this message gets out to the entire drone community. I mean, there's always going to be that 5-10%ers who are going to violate the rules and regulations because they feel, oh, it's worth it to them to go get that shot and everything else. So to them, that's part of the risk and reward type attitude or mindset that they live by. But like I said, this is going to be the path going forward for our community. And we need to be mindful of that on the long run, that this is what's going to be taking place. So there is going to be no more, catch me if you can type thing. Is that it's going to be more. They're going to be on the offense, and we're going to be on the defense. And that's why I've always been an advocate for the trust test, advocate for getting your Part 107, using Lance and when an essay, or using the drone zone to get your authorization. I always like to compare us to these small aircrafts, and even though we hear them crashing almost every week, and when they crash, people die, property gets damaged, things of that nature. But each one of those pilots are trained. When they have a crash, it is very unfortunate that lives are lost, property is damaged, and so forth. But no one questions the ability of the pilot. They all, always a lot of times it comes down to mechanical failure or whatever. But sometimes it is actual pilot error that is the problem. And that's why I always say that, we need to step up our game, as I always say. We become more professional-like. We become more registered, card-carrying, things of this nature, have our paperwork in order when we go out and conduct our flights. I know that some might think, oh, it's just a hassle. I'm only doing this. I'm flying below the tree line, yada, yada, this and that. But like I said, it gives the public, it gives your local agencies that will be the ones enforcing the law. How we doing, Herman? The ones that are enforcing the law, that when they would like to do or like to have happen is when they encounter a drone operator, pilot, is that 7 out of 10 times that individual has all the necessary documentation to be out doing what they're doing. It should be more of the norm than the outside the boundaries type of thing that they run into. And just the same thing with those who trespass, hop fences, cut through fence lines, whatever, to go fly bandos and things of that nature. I say the same thing. Yeah, it's exciting. It's a thrill, but it does not add to the professionalism of the hobby, and it definitely doesn't add to the professionalism of commercial operations. So that's what I'm saying, that we should, us having our proper documentation, us conducting ourselves in a professional manner should be the norm instead of the outside the bounds type thing. And that's on us. That's on us. Like I used to say years ago, and I even got kicked out of a few Facebook groups back then for so-called drone policing and everything else. But I would tell folks, hey, if we don't police ourselves, somebody else will. And that's where we're at today. We are being policed by someone else. And they're not playing around because they got the deep pockets. They control policy and commerce. So like I say, a lot of folks have I'm not saying a lot, but there's been a few people who have left the drone community as reviewers. People we used to rely upon for reviews of different products coming out. We still have the ongoing definition of the so-called restrictions or ban that is still being worked out. But like I said, those empower, make the rules, and they enforce the rules, and they can dictate how the rules are interpreted. They can dictate how the rules are being, I would say, enforced. Not us. They do. They get to do that. So let me take a quick break right now, and we'll continue to go.
Data. When your flight data matters.
All right. Quick break for air data. Appreciate it. And as I was saying that, we're going to go back to the article I had here. I guess it's the report of what's going on. So let me bring that up real quick. Now, talks about penalties for violators. And this is what I'm talking about, those in charge. They're not playing around. This is not the days of our old friend Mikey in Philly, where they keep contacting you, and then they finally come up with a number per violation. This is one and done. First violation, civil fines up to $75,000 per violation. They're not giving out warning letters no more. This is not a warning thing. This is first time. You're one and done. And they find you doing something nefarious, which could be criminal fines, up to $100,000. And you can get hit with both. Like I say, one's a civil fine, the other is actual criminal adjudication. Okay? Simple as that. The number one deal right off the bat, confiscation. Drones are seized and cannot be used again. Let me say that real quick. Drones are seized and cannot be used again. So it's not like you're going down to the local station, going to pick up your drone the next day or after the World Cup is over. It says cannot be used again. So, if it's from a little mini drone that costs you a couple $100 to something a little bigger, you're out of pocket. You're out of pocket, straight off the thing there. Then another one is criminal charges, potential federal prosecution, including up to a 1 year in prison. And basically, they'll charge you that if you damage some property, like I say, flying into an aircraft or things of that nature. Like I say, and you can be hit with all four of these factors right here. You can get civil fines, criminal fines, confiscation, and criminal charges going from there. And like I say, not just 3 strikes, you get 4 strikes. Bam. and all can be behind one incident. You can get hit with all four. So it's not. This is not a scaling situation. You can be hit with all four. All right. So, like I said, I'm not going to be on long today, but like I say, this is just something that I hope as the World Cup continues that the number of drone encounters lessen. I wanted to see it reduced. I want to see it go down to where there are zero drone encounters in the area. I mean, to me, yes, it's a black eye on the industry. Yes, it's a black eye on the hobby. Yes, it's a black eye. No matter where you look at it, how you look at it, you know, these are the rules, and we need to make sure we obey the rules. And like I say, we need to be better. We as a community need to be better. Like I say, when you get it, when you have an encounter, which this means that more encounters are going to happen even after the World Cup. There's going to be more encounters. Like I say, some agencies are going to be running this maybe more often. Some will only use it during special events or whatever, but there will be more encounters, and hopefully in the future, those encounters will be just basically what we call random checks, just verifying that people are doing things by the numbers, and not really have to go after people thinking nefarious things are going on, and people just being outright negligent in their operations for the most part. So that was my biggest thing. Our crowd is a little light tonight, so I don't see much going on in the chat and everything, but that's okay. But I want to just go on there and just talk about what is going on in the drone community. I know some folks have learned a couple hard lessons making these purchases outside the U.S. And like I said, and it's something I talked about even last year about buying things from outside entities of the U.S. If it's not authorized in the U.S., that means you're flying something that is unlawful in the skies of the U.S. And some have found out the hard way, and and some have been able to get their money refunded and everything. But these are the things you have to look out for. Who you're buying from. Are they selling something that is authorized to be operated in the skies of the United States? And now that what's going on here is starting to spread a little bit across the globe here and there. The UK has had a revision of their parameters of flight authorizations and restrictions. Other places have followed suit. Our neighbors to the north are having a few different adjustments to their current regulations. So, like I say, you just can't just hide. I guess that's the best word I can have. You just can't hide from what's going on. And like I said, a lot of folks say, well, I live out in the sticks. Nobody comes out where I'm at and everything else. And I said, well, bless your heart if that's your scenario, wherever the case may be. But just remember, it's a one and done deal. And losing your drone is more than enough. Confiscating your drone. I have not read of any mechanism in place that allows you to be able to retrieve your drone once it's been confiscated. So that's the biggest strike right there to me, is that a lot of these folks may not be doing other things, might get a slap on the wrist from community service, things of that nature, may not get the big fines, but like I say, losing your drone can be quite a bit. And like I say, if you get off easy on the first one, I dare you to go back out there and get caught again, because then you're gonna get hammered. All four areas will be applied to you. Pretty much guarantee you that, because they're going to use the first case against you on the second incident. Because like I said, it's not a scaling thing. They can hit you all at once the first time, or they can, like I said, they can slap you on the wrist and then see what you do from there. So, like I said, I'm not going to keep you. We're going to go for one last break before we get out of here and go from there. Where are we at here with my stuff? Let me see.
To be the best, you have to train with the best. Pilot Institute.
All right, that's for my boys at Pilot Institute, Greg and his crew. And like I say, you guys ain't got to listen to me. You can hear from people like Greg and other people that that are we call pretty involved or enlightened individuals who talk about drones. They can tell you themselves, hey, this is no joke. This is very serious and everything else. And like I say, just like somebody's talking about, even with with local dignitaries coming in town, presidential people, things of that nature, they're going to apply this to all that kind of stuff. This is not just a FIFA thing, whatever. This is what's happening going forward. Going forward, this is what's going to happen. And these tools are going to be available for local law enforcement, probably all the big city agencies, and it's going to be stuff that was handed to them from the federal government to conduct these type of anti-drone operations. So, like I said, be mindful what you do. Be mindful where you're at when you're flying, and like I said, it's not just all about you. Every time we fly, we represent the tens of thousands of other pilots that are out there flying also. So it's never about you yourself. So as I say, this is Dre Recovering Drones. Please, go out and enjoy yourself, but let's do it the right way. Let's be professional. Let's be able to show others, especially the other part of the population, that they have nothing to fear from us. Because most of this is all fear-driven. They should not have any fear from us on what we fly, and they should not have any fear in how we fly if we're flying appropriately. So once again, this is Dre Recovering Drones. I'll catch you at the end of July on the next last call. Later.